Welcome back to my channel, guys. So today is Throwback Thursday again. It happens every week. And I wanted to talk a little bit about habits and routines. While we're talking about those things, I'm gonna recreate a look that I did probably a long time ago. It's just gonna be pinks and yellows and very sunset-y vibes. I might throw some glitter into it this go round because why the fuck not? You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna go ahead and prep my skin and then we will get right into it. All right, so the first thing I wanna talk about is getting enough rest, which I know might not sound like it directly relates, but it does, and a lot. So the first step in trying to create a healthy habit or routine, the first thing that you should be concerned about is making sure that you're getting enough sleep. Because quite frankly, you're not going to be able to do anything else right if you're not getting enough sleep and your body's not able to function correctly and put in that energy and repair your body the way it's supposed to if you're not getting enough sleep. Now, I don't typically have issues as of late getting up early. I have not been a morning person my whole life by any means, but I've kind of trained myself into getting up early, and we'll talk about mornings in a minute. But I found that a struggle for me, one of the biggest issues, was going to sleep on time. I would find that I would say that it was my me time, my relaxing time that I got finally to myself, and I would sit down and watch TV or just kill time. I would pick out outfits, or I would scroll through my phone for hours and hours looking at makeup or skating or food or whatever gym stuff it may be. And before I knew it, it was 2 hours past my bedtime, and then I wasn't able to really wake up and fully function the way I wanted to because I had screwed up my sleep pattern. Okay, these need to go because they are uber in my way. Just distracting me. I hope I don't create a butt part. So anyways, I would find myself spending my me time when I had the least amount of energy. So I'm giving myself only a portion of the attention that I deserve and am capable of, because by the end of the day, I really just couldn't handle that much more. So I would just give myself scraps. And I think that's what most people do. I don't think I realized how valuable my time is and how valuable my me time is, nonetheless. Because this is the time that you have to give back to yourself and make sure that you are taking care of yourself and repairing and just focusing on you so that you can continue to live your life, and each day giving back to everybody else or putting yourself into your work or whatever it may be. But I don't think people realize how important your you time is, and it's important how you spend it. One thing that has helped me not just sit in front of sit on the couch in front of the TV and waste my me time is I will do it in the morning, and we'll talk about morning routines, like I said, in a minute. But now I have designated winding down, getting ready for bedtime, and I will spend that time like an hour or two before I want to be in bed and going to sleep, and I will take that time to just reflect on my day and do what I need to do to get ready for the next day, whether that means just washing my face, brushing my teeth, and that's it. Typically it's more than that because I'm ADD and I can't just do those two things and then get in bed. So I start way earlier so that I have time to stretch, and I've got time to have some tea if I want some tea, or write stuff down on my to-do list, or set out my outfit for the next day. I will have that routine every night so that I know, okay, well, it's 8 or 9 or 7 or 8, or depending on what time I need to get up, that's when I need to start getting ready to get into bed. And we're gonna go in with just like half crease. This is pretty dry, so it's not transferring above. So I'm just gonna go ahead and cut a little bit more exaggerated than where my natural crease would be. Once you have going to bed and getting ready for bed on time down as part of your nightly routine, then you can start working on making sure that you can get up and starting your morning off right. One thing that Rachel Hollis, you already know that I'm gonna quote her, this whole thing is inspired by her. And one thing that she says and that she swears by is to never hit the snooze. And she is die hard, I tell you what, ever, like never hit the snooze. She explains it as, if you are hitting the snooze, you are breaking a promise to yourself before you even open your eyes, which is fucking deep. Like that is a whole lot for hitting a snooze button on your phone to just get an extra 9 minutes. But she's not wrong. If you make it a big deal, then you're likely going to treat it as a bigger deal. And I think that it deserves that, because it can really make or break your day. It can set you up for success, or it can set you up for failure, depending on where your priorities are at. If you're holding yourself accountable and saying that I'm gonna get up at this time and then blowing it off because you don't feel like it, that is kind of a big deal. And you should want to get up and not blow it off, and not learn how to pick up that habit of learning how to trick yourself into thinking that it's okay because, well, I didn't go to sleep at this time, so I need it. Okay, well, then you shouldn't have stayed up. And it usually just backfires if you start one way, and if you start with not getting enough or not going to bed at the right time, and then you sleep in, it usually is a negative domino effect. I very rarely have been able to just blow it off and get right back on track. You need to you need to suck it up and get up when you say you're gonna get up, and then go to bed on time that night, and make sure that you're staying with that routine so that you can start to naturally wake up on time, or even before your alarm goes off, which is ultimately the goal for me, because that way you know your body is ready to wake up, and you don't have to feel like you're being forced to wake up or you're dependent on your phone, because your body will naturally be ready to wake up. So what Rachel Hollis suggests in this case is that you wake up 1 hour before you need to, or that you typically do. Instead of getting up at 9 in the morning, get up at 8 and have your you time during your most productive hours. And if that's not how you operate, if your most productive time is in the evening, then by all means, do that. I think typically most people are more productive in the morning, because that's when their brain is the clearest. There's not a lot of brain fog, and there's not a lot of stress and ideas and anxieties, or, the whole day kind of takes a toll. And by the end of the day, I'll be exhausted, and I won't want to take care of myself because I'm tired. So my most productive time is in the morning. And if that's how you operate, then try that out and get up an hour earlier to have your you time when you're able to function the best. And I just listened to a podcast that I heard about it was a fitness blogger, Train Bloom. He suggested listening to the Tim Ferriss show, I think. And on this show, Tim Ferriss, the host, I think that's his name, I hope I'm saying it right, had a guest, and the guest was Hugh Jackman, and he talked about how he spends his mornings with his wife, and I found it really interesting. So I just popped on it's lip liner on the inner waterline, and I'm gonna go ahead and do the other eye, and then we will meet back here in 10. So now that I've finished my second eye and my face base, I'm gonna go in and do my eyebrows and the bottom part of my eyeshadow and do the finishing touches, but we're gonna get back to the podcast that I was talking about with Hugh. So essentially what he was saying, I decided to just wait until he finished because that was pretty loud. But in the podcast, Hugh and Tim talk about what Hugh's morning routine is. And Hugh explains, first of all, that he and his wife spend their time in the morning reading to each other. They'll read the same book at the same time, and they will take turns reading to each other, which, I said this before, I've never been super into reading up until the past year or a little bit more. And I think that's just because I wasn't a fast reader, and it's hard for me to focus on reading. But I've really grown to like it, and especially if someone else is reading to me and I can just focus on paying attention to what's going on in the story. The book he said that he and his wife are reading right now, I can't remember, but it's on the podcast if you want to look into it. I think it was episode 444, or it just had that number on it. But pretty sure that was the episode number. But it was really interesting. He talks about how he sets his intentions in the morning, and those intentions are spending time, that designated reading time that he has with his wife every single morning. He does that in the morning to make sure that they have that time together, that designated time together, because so often it's easy to put it off for later on in the day and say, oh, well, we live together. I'll see you later on. I'll see you at some point. We can hang out or talk about our day during dinner or after dinner before we go to bed. And you put it off and the day gets away from you and it just doesn't happen. So it's a great way, if that's not what you choose to do, reading with your spouse. If you don't have a spouse, I don't. So for me, it looks like exercise or setting my intentions for the day just for myself and holding myself accountable for that. That's how it looks for me personally. But however you interpret having your you time in the morning or whenever it may be, making sure that you have that time in the beginning of the day to ensure that it doesn't get out of hand, you get too busy, and then later on maybe you don't feel like it, and then before you know it, you haven't spent any time on yourself or for yourself. It's such an important thing to do, and it's so easy. I make sure I get up 30 minutes before anybody else in my house just so that I can have that me time. And I joke and say, oh, I need my coffee first. But in reality, that's not what it's about. I want to have time to talk to myself and figure out how I'm feeling, what I want to do and what I want to achieve for the whole day. I write down my intentions and I write down my goals, and I typically read and I'll listen to a podcast maybe, and I try to get my workout in, I wouldn't say morning, but before noon, because it just sets me up for the rest of the day for success. That's what works best for me. Like I said, there's a lot of people that their most productive hours are between 9 p.m. and midnight, which good for you. That will not work for me. I will have ADD to the max. I will not be able to focus. If I'm awake during those times, those hours, I am either getting ready for bed or I am socializing. I can't get work done at nighttime. It's just not gonna happen. It's all about finding what works for you and figuring out what is effective for you. Your morning routine and what works for you or what you like to do might look different from what mine looks like or what Hugh Jackman was talking about his looks like. It's just trial and error, and it takes a long time to figure that out. And even when you figure out one or two things that does work for you, even now I'm still doing trial and error to perfect it and tweaking little things to make it the best for me. The ways that I find out different ideas or tactics is just by listening to podcasts, asking other people what they do, and exploring with trial and error that way. There's been a lot of really good advice and suggestions from other people that I wouldn't have tried unless I looked into what other people's lives and morning routines looked like. Now, this does not mean that if it's hard for you to get up in the morning, that you're not gonna be able to make it work and that you're not productive in the mornings, and maybe you should just stay up all night and get all of your stuff done in the evenings. That is not what that means. Most people aren't naturally morning people. I sure as hell wasn't. You're not just born naturally wanting to rise at the ass crack of dawn. That's not normal for a lot of people. You have to practice. It's all about consistency. There's a study that talks about how many days it takes to set a habit. And I want to say it was like 21 days, but don't fact check me on that. Or do and let me know. We're going to stick with 21. It takes 21 days, meaning you can practice waking up at 7 every single day, and it won't be natural for your body. It won't be a habit that your body will instinctively do until after 21 days. It's something that you learn. You wouldn't go to the gym for a week and then expect to be jacked. Not even that, even be in shape after a week. That's not how life works. And that's the same for every aspect of life. Anything that you can apply that to, things don't happen overnight. If you want to see real results, you have to put in the time and train yourself. Your brain is a muscle. You have to put in the effort and deliberately practice what your goals are and stick to that. You have to practice it religiously. If you are intentional about your habits or what you want to be your habits and you put in the work, that's not easy. It's not, like I said, it's not an overnight thing. You have to actually try. It's really hard when you were taught one thing and you want to create a habit of doing something else. But if you are intentional about it and you put in the work, it's not impossible to change how you operate or how you think. It just takes time. Your brain is a muscle and you need to exercise it every day until it is trained to do what you want it to do, just like any other muscle. And that's just science or math or something. All right, that's gonna be the finished look, guys. And you know what time it is. I'm shedding like crazy. It's recap time. So just to cover everything we talked about, probably not, but some things. Wake up a little earlier than you're used to. It's really not that hard. Just do it. Get out of bed. Don't hit snooze. Keep the promise to yourself. Be consistent with it. I know it's hard, but if you can do it for a couple weeks, then it will become secondary and you won't even think about it. It'll have a huge impact on your life and on each day individually. Spend your most productive time, your most productive hours on your you time. Make sure that you're not giving yourself scraps when you don't have any energy left and you can't give back to yourself or pay attention to yourself and give yourself the love that you need. Don't brush it off. It's important. Set your intentions for the day, each day, every single morning, and hold yourself accountable by the end of the day. And if you can't do that, if you don't trust yourself to do that, have someone else hold you accountable. Get a friend and have them text you and check in at the end of the day, and they can do the same thing. You guys can make sure that you hold the other person accountable for their goals and your goals and what you are trying to achieve, so that you don't slack off and just tell yourself that they're not important or you can do them the next day. You are in control of your life. Please, for the love of God, start taking control. Start making changes and taking action of your day-to-day routines. Otherwise, you're not going to see anything change. If you want to change your life, you have to make those changes a priority and turn them into habits. And the only way you can do that is consistency, working your brain. And when you do, it gets stronger and you will learn to do those habits and have those daily routines. Everything that you do in the morning and in the night will just be second nature. And lastly, go to bed. Go to sleep, guys. I don't understand. It happens to me all the time, especially if I'm around people. I have bad FOMO. I want to stay up and hang out with everyone. And that's the best thing that's come from quarantine. It is so important. It is so important. Not only for your mental health, but for your physical health as well. Just go to bed. There's like a rare percentage that can actually function off of fewer hours of sleep. So don't come at me with, well, I only need, some of you can, but most people cannot. Do yourself a favor and go to bed and drink water. All right, guys, I will talk to you next Thursday, and I hope you guys start practicing self-care and self-love. Take care of yourself, and we'll see you outside of quarantine, maybe one day. Have a good night. Oh, fuck. Ew. My dad's mowing the lawn, so just ignore that. And that's just how it goes. And I know that I'm gonna be doing that. If your life is gonna be anybody home? Some of you guys have never read a book, and it shows. Love yourself. Express yourself. Oh shit. Whoa. Different kind of podcast.